Foremost is going to be that Rumble. Still have to show that immense amount of respect over to Marin.
And the flex pick of Spirit. So because they've been flexing it recently, it's a double trouble ban, which didn't even need to be before for Marin to receive the bans, and now you just feel a little bit cleaner if you're MVP, pulling it away.
That way against SK Telecom as well, since we've seen Peanut bringing the Rumble out in the jungle.
So largely, with my preparation, I've been focused on the last 3 matches, because I don't think it really pays a lot of attention to focus on MVP pre-714, pre-champion pools being a bit more established. So looking at recent picks, Gragas for Beyond is 4-0. Ian's found a lot more value on the Orianna, and Xayah has been their AD carry of choice. That's why you see a Kalista ban as their final ban. They won't be picking up the Kalista, and Xayah is a hugely contested pick for Afreeca as well. They have to choose between banning Elise or Xayah. This could very much be in a Xayah first pick, or maybe even a Maokai for MVP.
All right, yeah, do go ahead and take that one away. Don't want that in the hands of Marin. Got the massive winning record across his career with the Maokai.
I wonder if we see a Xayah takeaway in the first round. Wouldn't be a surprise with it being Afreeca. MVP had to choose between the Maokai and Xayah, and some teams have prioritized Maokai a lot lower than perhaps fans would expect in other regions. And this will be the start of it being a first pick ready, denial pick away from Marin, and I guess Spirit also. It's just going to be the Lovers bot lane fully locked in. OGN represented at the bottom. Kramer, who was a very early adopter of Xayah, is 10-3 on the pick. Very high win rate, and it feels like Kramer and his Xayah kind of matches Prey and his Ashe when it comes to picks that are synonymous with players in recent history.
It's going to be the Tristana coming through as an answer here from the side of Maha. And maybe we just lock down the bot lane. We will, in fact, as the Alistar will be coming through for Max.
Yeah, return to the Trist Alistar. I'm hyped to see that. Very old duo lane, but the sort that can hard engage. Try to punish the Xayah. Very early priority on the Jarvan. Another flex pick top laner that they managed to put together when Rumble was banned against them. Has largely been Marin's pick, but we know Spirit can play it from the jungle as well.
Syndra banned away, so respect over to Ian. Knows that he still very much does like that Syndra in the mid lane, even though she hasn't been as high priority or as oppressive as we've seen as of late. With the Talia taken off the board, the Galio as well as a nice little target ban against Kuro.
Waiting to see the jungle and potentially the mid lane be selected for Afreeca, although we're unsure where the Jarvan will be going. Earlier Jarvan today was jungle. It's been a bit more jungle recently, Ambition playing it yesterday, but when it's Marin, you always feel like it could definitely be the top lane Jarvan as well. Galio ban against Kuro is interesting, given that Kuro may have started the season with a good record on the Galio, but fallen away as a viable pick for Afreeca. When you look at Kuro's champion pool, the man likely to be the regular season MVP. A lot of one-offs, a lot of small amount of game champions, but the Orianna has been a pretty big one for him too.
I think actually MVP just crippled themselves here by banning the Gnar, because usually good things come to the enemy team when Marin is playing the Gnar.
Naren, you say.
There you go. I've combined them.
They are now one.
Inadvertently, I have
Afreeca Freecs lose with this combination.
Them. Oh dear.
So the Orianna is a takeaway pick from Ian, like I mentioned, and one that makes so much sense with their hard initiate of Rakan and the Jarvan. So waiting for the flex pick, last pick, and Corki versus Orianna not going to capture the imagination, but the very standard mid lane matchup in this game.
Yeah, nothing shocking. I mean, this is exactly what we saw from our first series. Orianna for Septid, Kuzan bringing out the Corki, but maybe things will get a little bit spicy in the top lane. Nope, never mind. Just going to be the Maokai for ADD as their XI gets locked in for Beyond. I got so excited for just a second.
They would have loved Orianna on the side of MVP, what they drafted. Now they're kind of in this weird spot that echoes what we saw from Jin Air, where they have double AD, but also the Rek'Sai Maokai, not a lot to pair with the hard initiation, but from ahead can still be a powerful draft. Waiting on Afreeca to cement where the Jarvan is going. Okay, we asked for something new from Marin. Here it is.
It's going to be the Trundle locked in for the top lane. We've seen this coming out, as an answer to the Maokai. In the past, this has been one alongside the Gnar. Just chew through those tanky stats with the ultimate. So Marin is going to be picking it up here for himself.
Wants to be in a side lane, farming in the face of the Maokai, rush a Ravenous Hydra, and a split push in the face of Maokai. It's a matchup as old as time, it feels like now. Ever since 2015, we've seen the solo lane Maokai, but it's a new pick for Marin in recent times. A man who has that small, effective champion pool picking up a win against MVP on the Trundle will be the sort of thing that will make SKT wonder if we do end up getting that explosive first round gauntlet match.
All right, well, here we go. Everything locked in. Interesting drafts from both sides. Mid lane going to be a lot more of what we've already seen, but Kuro's going to try to step up to the plate perhaps, get that MVP for himself. Like I said, one MVP win here for Kuro guarantees himself first place, or BDD has to get a double MVP in his final game to try to tie him. So Kuro is pretty much a shoo-in at this point.
Got some good ball carriers for the Orianna Shockwave to rip through teams. Stana from the side of Kramer is going to be interesting to see as well. Big match, playoff implications in this one. MVP looking to do Jin a favor, and Afreeca looking to keep their destiny in their own hands.
All right, well, we'll see how the Lovers bot lane does deal with that Tristana Alistar. Saw it tried by Everate in our first series, didn't work out. Let's see how it goes in the hands of the Afreeca Freecs as we load in for game number 1. All right, here we go. Fans filling up the audience here for match number 2. Considerably larger fan basis, given that Everate still a bit of a budding esports org.
You may
now needs to requalify for the LCK.
You may be surprised to hear this, Kilios, but in his Korean career, it's actually Marin's first ever game on Trundle. Even though it strikes you as a fairly Marin champion, he's never played it in Korea. I haven't looked at his China stats, don't have them on hand this second, but first time on Trundle.
You know, you say that probably surprises me, but somehow it actually does not. It just seems like such a Marin thing to do, to not play the pick that seems to fit him.
You say that, but he's just the guy who's always had about 4 champions in the meta,
Yeah.
right? Maybe 3 even at some points, but going on to the Trundle for the first time, his 279th game in Korea, excluding his year in LGD. Looking at some of the stats and what he's running, he's got 4 ability power because he's taken the mastery on the leftmost tree.
What year in LGD? That we just that's when time just skipped forward, right?
2016 was one to forget for
Yeah,
Marin.
nothing ever happened.
But the Max fans are here at the audience.
I mean, that's you know, Max is probably one of the big reasons why this team had grown in popularity so much, just because everyone, you know, hearing about his crazy antics in the support role, going for, you know, the Zillion, the Vel'Koz brand, the Scion with the Quadra kill, etc., really helped popularize this team.
And it's good to see the fans, you know, after a couple of recent wins, they're showing up at the audience. There's a lot more MVP fans than during the losing streak, which you can't be too surprised by.
We don't have to hide anymore.
Wasn't a fun time for them, to be sure. Seeing an invade here by Spirit, started topside jungle, was spotted. This is pretty predictable from the side of Spirit.
They both have Smite as Beyond does come to join in. No wraparound from the top laners yet, as it might just be that 50-50 Smite battle that Beyond loves so very much. Top laner's still not here.
Everyone's holding on to cooldowns to burst it, and they're going to reset it.
That's going to be the reset. Flag and drag forward here from Spirit. Gets a bit of damage down onto the Rek'Sai, and Kuro has walked all the way over. Ian still in the mid lane, will now be coming in to join. This is still going to be an interesting battle if they do want to go for this one. Kuro throwing out the ball, looking for a little bit of damage in, on to Beyond, down to 600 HP. Smite comes through, it's going to be Spirit walking away with the buff.
Spirit picking up the Smite there is pretty consequential. They rolled in so many members, both mid lane and top lane, abandoned the buff. For MVP, it's not a high-value blue to lose. Remember, Beyond is a no-mana user. Spirit trying to vertically jungle, try to control the top side. He'll be able to do that because he does deny away the wolves.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big one. He only took one of the small wolves there for Beyond, so has to go straight over to the red buff. So Spirit now going to have pretty much complete control over this top side unless he has somebody down to roam in with him. So Beyond going to be in a spot of bother.
7 games on the Trundle in China. Lets you know that Marin has played it professionally. 4-3 on it in China.
Okay.
First time in Korea, even though it was a pick in 2015.
Are those the 4 wins that LGD got at the time?
Hey, he's got some victories here. He does not have a positive win rate on LGD. They weren't fantastic in 2016, that's for sure.
Well, already we've had more action in the first 3 minutes than we had in the first 20 of our first series.
Yeah, pretty coordinated plan from the side of Afreeca, but for MVP, they had the inside scoop that it was a top side start for Afreeca and a likely invade, yet they didn't have first rotation to try to back up the laners.
Nice grand entrance there onto Maha, knocks him down to half HP, leaps to the side, not backward in the lane, and in fact just takes more damage there from Kramer with the feathers. Nice little trade coming through from the side of Afreeca.
Some pretty potent Xayah play today, so guess we shouldn't be surprised. Sort of lane where Tristana, I think, has the easier time, but if she's allowed to play aggressive, if she has jungle coverage, I really like Tristana in this lane is headbutt to turret.
Tucson immediately has that grand entrance to take himself back out, takes one more turret shot, does use the ignite, takes Max dangerously low, so forces, he does have that flash down now as wraparound comes through to the mid lane, but Kuro's just going to pop both the summoner spells and sprint his way out of there.
Yeah, Beyond actually unburrowed without being able to flash in, so didn't look like he was really fully committing to the follows. Getting both summoners, pretty happy times for him.
Gonna allow for a very fast revisit here.
Plan from Spirit in terms of jungle pathing is really interesting to track, because getting the Trundle ahead is the first thing you think of, given that the late game is expected to take the form of 4-1 for the side of Afreeca. But Trundle is under very little threat from Maokai Rek'Sai. Not enough damage from the two. Take him down. It's probably not going to be a Tiamat rush, given that we already see a jungle enchant finished by Beyond. So honestly, you can just kind of leave the Trundle to do his own thing. Grass Trundle's going to be fine in lane, and then largely play around, specifically bot lane, to try to stop the snowballing we've seen from these Tristana lanes. We very often see the difference between a Tristana who has jungle pressure and a Tristana that doesn't. The effectiveness of the pick does fall away pretty early, given the auto-push nature of Trist.
Nice and even up at the moment, but Kramer's about to scoop up a pretty nice little bit of CS, so we'll come out on top very slightly. Things are slowing down, just very slight little leads here in the top lane for the side of the Afreeca Freecs, as we do see the flag and drag down onto Ian, but he won't get popped up, but he takes quite a bit of damage from the dissonance.
He's like one creep away from 6. If a creep had died during that all-in, probably would have picked up the kill on Ian.
Oh, back down to the bottom lane. Grand entrance coming through yet again here onto Maha. It's knocked down to half HP yet again, but Tucson does not have the ignite for the all-in, but they might not even need it. They're still firing away Max, desperately trying to keep him staved off. The leap will come through. Flash forward, Blade Caller coming down. Oh! One more hit would do it, but they just can't quite get the catch.
Jarvan's here.
We'll get the pop-up yet again on the Max. Double pulverized knock-up coming through for him as Spirit is chasing in, has the flash available, flashes in, gets the knock-up, gets the kill. First blood over to Afreeca Freecs, but now firing back is Beyond, comes in, finds Tucson, kills him.
Teleport.
After the unburrow, TP is coming down. Now from the side of Ian, out of the mid lane. Does not get halted by Kuro with the shockwave, and now Spirit and Kramer roaming up towards this mid lane. Seems like they will be able to escape, so they say, all right, Ian, you want to come to the bottom lane? We'll go right back over to where you came from.
Yeah, Kramer was late on the heal. That probably would have been enough to allow Tucson to live, who dies with flash up. Gotta say, Spirit's ability to flash right at the end of the flag and drag. I was unaware that you could flash that late and still pick up the knock-up, because he needed the auto attack to finish off the kill. Smooth stuff from Spirit, who plays a lot of solo queue. This is how much we know.
Yeah.
Comes back in, has had some decision-making fails, but that time, great pathing from him. And while it is answered, Afreeca do have the tempo lead in the early game.
Very nicely done by them. About a 1-for-1 at the end of the day. Kill going over onto Beyond, so both the junglers going to be the ones picking those up.
The Tristana falls meant that she also got the less preferential back.
Tucson's waiting. Max is recalling.
They do not in any way expect Tucson to be in the brush here. They are wondering where he is, of course, but this is definitely a crafty move from Tucson.
Maha getting ready to ride the wave back in. Can they get the jump? They're not
He
level
knows there's
6
no
yet.
ward because the minion wave would have aggroed onto him.
Kramer pushing up, just trying to zone him back. We'll throw down a control ward there into the brush, and seems like Tucson might have to give up on this because Maha is not playing into his hand at all. And it will have Max rejoining him, but he's been pushed back and forth in and out of experience range. And you can see Kramer hitting level 6 first. We'll now have that Feather Storm available.
Marin's changing as a player, Kilios. He didn't go Cull.
My God.
More respect for a Maokai than we'd ever expect Marin to lever, given that basically went Cull on Renekton in every matchup.
I don't like it, Papa Smithy. I don't like the changes.
Well, if it's effective, Afreeca fans will be happy, given what this match represents for them. They'll be happy enough that Xayah got to jump on, that Kramer got to jump on to Xayah. You'll forgive my mistake. He is 10-3 on the pick.
They're basically one and the same at this point.
Wherever possible, he's locking in the Xayah to great effect. You gotta say, 3-item Orianna and 3-item Xayah, and sure, the Trundle probably won't be there for the team fight, but the core of 4 will be very, very powerful and even be able to shove pretty fast.
Well, Beyond going over to contest this ward. He's heavy in here to back him up. TP coming through. Shockwave thrown down, and Ian is just going to go so very low. One more hit would do it. The auto attack from the Orianna. Not enough, but Kuro has that. Ghost will be able to finish him off, and they go ahead and get Beyond right inside the Raptor pit as well. 2 for 0 going over to Afreeca. We're going to be looking to accelerate the pace of the game. Can have a nice little push in onto this mid tier 1 turret. They will go ahead and move forward to a 1.4 thousand gold lead.
And critically, that was while Teleport was down from ADD. No ability to react. They don't even have to call in Kramer. And they're going to get first brick in the mid lane. The best possible turret that you can pick up at 10 minutes. Afreeca out of nowhere. Massive advantage.
Yeah, but now down to the bottom side. Bit of a scuffle coming through as Max goes in. Blade Caller, rather, comes through, and Maha gets rooted up, takes quite a bit of damage. Will not go down yet. Level 6 still has that buster shot to help keep himself safe, but the quickness was used.
When you have a lead like this is the sort of game where Trundle will thrive. We saw Trundles this season already, even though he's only been a pick for, 3 weeks now. Struggle, because if you lose mid lane turret yourselves with a Trundle, or if you start to fall away in the late game, or even if a Baron buff is picked up, suddenly Trundle's Split Push doesn't really have the same sort of respect as bot lane. The trades continue.
Alvarez coming down. It's going to be the Feather Storm out here from Kramer, keeping himself alive. Blade Caller will root Max as he goes dangerously low, has to pop the ultimate, still has the flash, so knowing his limits on this Alistar will stay alive for the moment. Kramer is very low on mana, as is Tucson, but now they have Spirit pushing in, made it into the brush before the minions pushed forward. Has not been spotted.
Doesn't have his flash up for the tricky flag and drag.
It's a little ways away from it, honestly. They could just try to wait this one out.
He also knows that Maha doesn't have flash, but will have jump available.
He's going to have the Cataclysm coming through very shortly as well. But Orianna does show, so they're going to have to go ahead and cut this one back.
Not often that Orianna will roam first against a Corki, but when you have that turret advantage, much more ability to make the cross-map plays.
So just going to go ahead and take that explosive charge. A little bit of damage. In the meantime, Baron, he's kind of low up top, but he pops the ultimate in onto 880. Getting some HP back and able to just keep himself alive. That's going to be the jump forward. Grand Entrance connects in onto Max. Cataclysm thrown down. Shield comes in to try to keep him alive. One more shot would do it, but it looks like he makes it out with his life. MVP won't be able to answer with a kill, but Max not going down is still going to be a nice boon for them.
Yeah, Courage of the Colossus proc at just the right time. Large enough shield intensity to not die. No fleeting auto attacks available for Afreeca. Freecs. Coverage from the Rek'Sai as well to ensure no one goes down. They could not afford further snowball in the bot lane, given what's going to happen inevitably in the top lane. So big win for MVP to not lose anyone there.
It's just going to hurt them because now he's without the flash, so the engage tools for the Alistar are going to be limited to the headbutt. But that's just going to mean that Max and Maha are going to play a bit more passively in this lane, trying to farm up here for the Tristana, who is going for the Bilgewater Cutlass. So we've been seeing quite a bit of the Infinity Edge or Static Shiv after the BF Sword.
Bit of self-peel, but like you mentioned, less damage to force through shields that Orianna inevitably be throwing down. So I know I'm not a big fan of the Blade of the Ruin King. It's a nice one-item power spike, but if you're ahead, if you're get a solo kill on top lane or mid lane, and you go Blade of the Ruin King bot lane to have a bit of self-peel and burst early in the game, I don't mind it. But in a scenario like this where you're basically going to need to be 3-item Tristana for MVP to win this game, slowing down your build, I'm not a big fan of.
Well, the decision has been made. Starting behind by about 500 gold almost here. Underneath Kramer, 400 or so.
Really liked what Spirit has done this game. I think he's deserved criticism for his jungling in previous games, donating double buffs over to Marin's lane opponent on Gnar, and some indecision in the late game, some poor smites. Absolutely, when you make your mistakes, you have to take the lumps, but in this game, allowing Trundle to just lane happily against Maokai for the inevitability of the late game, but focusing on a bot lane that can swing so hard when it's Tristana Alistar has been the smart move for them, and it's gotten Afreeca a better laning phase than expected in the duo lane.
Slowing down here yet again. Tucson posturing forward. That's going to be the headbutt pulverized down in onto the Rakan, but as that dash away.
Bit of a burst trade while the Mountain Drake is started by MVP.
A nice little distraction. They'll have the roam up. Spirit is nearby. Does he want to go in for this one? Throws down the ward, sees how low it is, but can't possibly find a way to enter with the Alistar there. Gatekeeping. In the meantime, Tucson will go in, finds a pop-up on the Maha. Cataclysm coming down, but he's got the lead to go over the wall, but the Ignite is ticking and might just finish him off. One final tick will get it. Tucson claiming the kill, and Beyond yet again back in the pit will go down. Now Marin arriving. Jumps forward in onto ADD. Throws down the pillar to try to cut him off as the rest of the team collapses inward. We'll have the slow up. Shockwave coming through. Nice twisted advance to dodge that one out. Now the Nature's Grasp coming through. We'll find multiple members. Tucson dashing away. Will still get taken down by Ian. As the Blade Caller connects in underneath the turret, Kramer fire away with a little bit of damage, but doesn't have enough to finish off the Corki. This gets him down to about half HP, but Afreeca Freecs might still be able to posture up for this tier 2 turret here in the mid lane as ADD nearly goes down. Flag and drag forward. Heal comes out. Tries to keep him alive.
Tucson dying wasn't ideal, but you see Marin is razor focused on getting the health bars low enough to allow him to get chomp auto attacks onto the inner turret, and now they have both turrets, 2 turrets to 0, but both of them being mid lane turrets is something that happens once a season. It's like a double rainbow. Yeah. It's such a rare thing, because now they have so much extra information for it only being 2 turrets down. It's such a surreal game where you can play a short laning phase in top and bot and have mid lane so exposed. We watch Tucson, nice engage onto Mahu, does die to the accumulation of the Ignite and also the red buff ticks. Beyond turned onto, he's died twice in that fashion. And then Marin gets a little over-eager in this scenario because you see the turnaround. If MVP had extra gold, an extra 3,000 gold's worth of items spent already, then this would have been a bad dub. Huge re-engage by Max and ADD. But crucially, only Tucson dies, and they are able to train down the turret because they gave Trundle the ability to Q auto onto turret, and he can do a lot of damage.
It's also really good that they all just wrapped around the rest of the Nature's Grasp brutes that were coming through. Only popped the one, and then everybody else was able to avoid it. Otherwise, things could have been significantly more painful for the side of Afreeca Freecs, but they definitely trade up in the end of that one, only losing out on Tucson. And now have that mid lane completely open, which really just allows them to go into really whatever parts of the jungle that they could possibly want to go for vision control.
I mean, the amusing fact, though, is that Orianna, as one of the least ideal roamers, actually will lose out on farm a bit here. Kind of will feel pressured to make ganks in the side lanes because Corki can just hold the wave hilariously far back, and Ori, who wants to be playing in as short a lane as possible, if she could just be next to a turret at all times and receive minions, should be absolutely gleeful with her hyper-scaling into the late game with utility as well. Now we'll try to be forced to make the side lane plays. That's not necessarily where she shines.
See if they're going to do any reallocation here for the team, such as trying to put Tucson and Kramer into the mid lane, rotate the Oreo down. For now, they are just going to be maintaining standard. Spirit pokes in. You can see the vision control on this bottom side of MVP's jungle is completely in the hands of Afreeca Freecs.
Plays onto the Rift Herald, happy to just play in the bot. This is true 4-1 play. Coming through from the side of Afreeca Freecs, and Orianna will make those first rotations before the package is picked up. Tucson and Kramer, even with all this pressure though, you can see getting no real damage onto the turret.
They haven't been in a much of a position to get that, and they've also really just heavily been focusing on killing Maha and Max as opposed to the structure itself.
Speaking of killing, getting optimistic about a turret dive onto a Maokai.
So we'll go ahead and throw down that sapling. It's a little bit of damage down to the Kuro. TP coming through, but ADD takes so much damage from the distance. Nature's Grasp will find Kuro. A lot of damage coming through here from Ian. A couple more shots would kill him as he bulks away from that shockwave, keeping himself alive.
Smartly bulks early. That's definitely an ability you have to use early against Orianna. ADD, a lot of armor, but did not have any real magic resist to deal with the shockwave. It was a 2-0-2 Ori at the time as bot lane.
Entrance thrown down, Featherstorm as well. Blade Caller will find the root as Maha gets the jump away. Ignite yet again ticking down, but this time will not find the kill. Heal used by Maha helps keep him alive. But now, Tucson and Kramer, they will have the priority in this lane to start knocking down this turret.
And just looks so anemic when she's the one who's being burst onto, the one that's being initiated onto. They get actually turret aggro onto Tucson, but it is, at the end of the day, a Rakan.
Yeah, he gets dashed right back out, so only takes about 2 turret shots and keeps himself nice and healthy. Maha taking away the red buff.
Honestly,
able to get some health back.
Exactly, the health regen is probably one of the big reasons. Just the ability to auto-attack down something and also to get the health regen from the buff. It's pretty big for his side.
Kill this fast enough? No. Can they?
They do a lot of damage, but they're probably going to run out of time. Here we go, it's going to be line ball.
The jumps are coming through.
Oh.
Sapling thrown in, can he get it? No, cannot do it. Reptile will be taken right at like the last few seconds here by the side of Afreeca.
That was playing with fire.
That really was.
And now, Trundle is the ideal person to pick up a Rift Herald to speed up the process of being a side lane menace.
Now he just needs, I don't know, like a Blade of the Ruin King or a red buff to just slow up ADD. Just keep knocking away at him.
You know, he's not interested in picking up kills. Kilios doesn't care about those from kill turrets. He's gone for the pushing build. It's not going to be the Ravenous Hydra. When he went Spirit Visage first, you could kind of guess that it was going to be a bit of a slowdown the Tiamat item. It's going to be Titanic Hydra for Marin, just for fast shove, and he already will have a lot of turret damage.
Good timing here as Afreeca takes control of the vision here in the river. The Scuttle Crab will clear out the control ward as well because this Infernal Drake is just now spawning. Max, however, once a fight flashes and misses the Pulverize as Tucson is able to dash away onto Kramer, who had already flashed in. Now Spirit popped over the wall with the blast cone, throws down the Cataclysm. 2 members locked in, flag and drag to get the extra knock-up, and Maha has to flash away on the backside. Will not be clipped by that shockwave, but the rest of his team cannot say the same, as Max will be the first one that goes down, and Tucson is still hunting. Does not have the quickness, but could have the grand entrance yet again.
Marin had already teleported in, as a Trundle not going to be able to do much, but Infernal Drake to fall back on after this turret. All lining up for Afreeca Freecs.
Much wave clear there from the Rockets of Ian. But now with the new wave coming through, seems like there might not be too much that he can do.
Ian's got very low mana.
Yeah, and that's going to be the Infernal Drake started up as well, but seems like MVP do want to stop this. Full HP. Coming in with ADD to try to take up in the front lines, but it's against 4 members of the Afreeca Freecs with Kuro rejoining. He'll jump in, Maha already leaping away his ADD, throws down the Nature's Grasp, goes down below half HP, and it's really just a matter of time. He'll flash away even, but double dash forward, Bard with the flash, Tucson going in. So they will be able to take him down in the end. As the Dragon Strike from Spirit claims his life, and then we'll go ahead and start up the Infernal Drake yet again.
ADD lived a long time, but he was baiting his team pretty hard. He had flash up, I understood what he was trying to do, but he was buying time. Hold on that point for a second.
Max going in, finds the double Pulverize yet again, but the Infernal Drake is taken by Spirit, but can he make it out of here with his life? Shockwave comes in, grabs 2, Beyond and Maha both go dangerously low, but Spirit will die in the end. Max with that Ignite finds a kill, but Kuro going forward, finds one, getting rid of Beyond, can't quite find another, will get taken down as it's a double kill suddenly here for Maha, almost a triple as they're able to turn it around very slightly, but they're still losing objectives across the map as Marin will knock down that tier 1 turret.
Needlessly greedy though from the Afreeca Freecs. They didn't need to keep reinitiating. Kuro went in, and then the Choose went in one by one, leading to the death of the bot lane and Kuro as well. Marin only picks up a single turret, so not worth it. Afreeca did get the Infernal in all of this. The flag and drag smite just enough damage, down to 70 health. But after this, they could have just accepted the Spirit would die to the Ignite and not gotten greedy. But one command attack hits from Kuro. Gets the kill with the command protect pullback. But because they had not committed as 3, Tucson wasn't there early enough, and the small shield wasn't going to be enough. It was just free damage. This should have been a lost team fight for MVP. That was after ADD had baited them to fight with Ian at about 150 mana as a Corki. Doesn't get punished for it. They actually trade up all in all. So pretty even if you consider everything.
Yeah, hard to say who is a clear victor in all of that fighting. But with the Infernal Drake coming through for the side of Afreeca, knocking down that final outer turret, and another Infernal on the way. Seems like it might be slightly in their favor at the end of it, but giving those kills over to Maha is a dangerous thing to do. Now Pulverize into the headbutt there on a Spirit. Tucson arriving, does have the lockdown. That's going to be the massive shockwave coming through for Kuro, looking for the kills, and Tucson on the backside. Looks like he might just be able to make it out with his life, but Maha has traded it, made it a 1-for-1 Spirit for Max's life, but Afreeca Freecs can for a little bit more as Marin pushes forward, throws down the trophy. Can't find the lockdown onto anybody.
Yeah, Afreeca feeling bloodthirst. They seem to want to end this game as fast as possible with the implications. That part I can understand, but they're doing it disconnected, and it means that a lot of gold is not there. They didn't have their 2 DPS threats grouped, and while the shockwave was true, Kramer wasn't there to layer damage, and in the end, it didn't get the value Afreeca were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, they want to accelerate the game. They want to finish it faster, but if they keep making these mistakes trading evenly, they're just going to elongate it and give MVP that opportunity to find some ground to stand on.
Value of that ground, I think, is open for debate. It is a very low damage build from Tristana, so her being relevant is probably still 12 minutes at earliest away. It feels like Infinity Edge and more is needed. Maybe a last whisper from there. But apart from that, I mean, Afreeca are comfortable in the late game. They still have a Trundle that there's no innate answer on the side of MVP from, other than Corki trying to buy time next to the Trundle.
You know, one of the things that I'm noticing as this game goes on, though, is just the amount of times that both Tucson and Max have been limping away with double-digit HP, if not single-digit. I think that was about the 3rd time right there from Tucson. You
got 65% damage reduction on one side, and you have about the most slippery guy you could ever ask for on the other side. So I guess that part makes sense. Both of them took Ignite to increase their power in the laning phase. It's fun. We're almost getting back to the old days where supports had to take Ignite, because if you had Exhaust and they had Ignite, you just ended up losing out because that extra laning power of the Ignite. Always feels bad as a support to take Exhaust largely for team fights when Ignite is such a laning-focused spell.
Remember when Ignite was the main ADC spell?
Now we're going far back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I remember when AD carries were in the mid lane of
We had Promote, some of the other ones. I forget what the other removed summoner spells were.
Surge Kale.
Yes.
Surge Cogmore was a thing for a half second.
That's true. Then once upon a time we had Revive.
Karthus and Pantheon mid missed this.
Oh yeah.
Item build from Spirit's a bit more greedy. It's a full initiation build. They don't have the standard Knight's Vow for the Jarvan. You're going to see the teleport come in very aggressively, but it is a Trundle.
We'll go ahead and peel back. Max just laying down a red carpet for Marin to arrive on. He'll actually flash out of the pit. Meanwhile, that's going to be a big catch on the backside here for ADD. The pop-up coming through. He's advance forwards, gets a massive shield, trying to keep himself alive. And then Nature's Grasp comes down, and Kuro is going to be the first one that falls without using the shockwave. Kramer able to answer for 1, now 2, getting rid of Beyond, but looking for so much more. Max with a massive pulverize, tries to even the fight, but that's going to be the quadra kill, or the triple kill rather, coming through here for Kramer. Dangerously though, will get popped by the explosive charge at the end by Maha, but Marin is able to pick up the pieces, gets rid of the Tristana, and Ian is just a smack away from going down, has the Valkyrie over the trophy to keep himself alive, and that was such a close fight. But again, Afreeca Freecs should not be going this even in the exchanges with MVP.
I can't disagree with that, but the actual fight was so interesting. When Kuro died with Shockwave not used, you thought that would be Baron for MVP and a team fight victory, but Kramer lives for a long time. Marin able to chomp as Tristana gets greedy with the last rocket jump into manage. We're going to see the replay. This was initiated by the side of MVP, but a real team fight winning play comes through from the quickness, charming the Maokai. I mean, they get free damage and stop the Maokai from getting exact target acquisition. That could have been Orianna dying much earlier, or Kramer dying, and the team fight falling apart. But Kramer living for a long time with decent item timings means that Afreeca go competitive. If not for Tucson, it would have been much worse.
I saw it. I saw the potential penta there. I got so ready to see it from Kramer, unfortunately.
So greedy from Maha. It's 2 bruisers who can turn around with CC.
Yeah.
And sure, it's not big burst, but he didn't have a lot of health to speak of, so the turnaround means the Afreeca go very even.
We'll be maintaining their gold lead here at the moment as the Infernal Drake does get started up yet again by MVP. Advance down in on the Marin as ADD just desperately tries to escape. Has the Nature's Grasp, but he is just way too squishy. There's too many members of the Afreeca Freecs around, and he will go down. And now they could try for a Miracle Seal here from Beyond, but without the flash, you would have no way of getting out of the pit. So that's double Infernal Drake over to the Afreeca Freecs.
The ADD played as if Marin was Shen and not Trundle. He just ulted him, and like you say, you just leveled a level 14 3-tank item Maokai is squishy, but that's the reality of the Contaminate coming through on the ultimate there. Makes him squishy. They turn onto the Maokai, couldn't get his positioning, and now Baron is being forced by Afreeca.
Yeah, and I mean, this might just have to be the go button for MVP, but the Baron has already fallen. Now they're looking to turn around the fight. Tucson gets popped back by the Buster shot, so won't have the great entrance as Max is just gatekeeping, making sure that the rest of the squad can make it out of here alive.
Who's going to get the kill? Who do they want to have it?
I mean, he lasted way longer than the Maokai did because of that Trundle ultimate. So they do give the kill over to Kramer at the end. 4th for him here in the game, 4, 2, and 8 on this Xayah. Maximum comfort for him again.
Can't steal percentage damage reduction from an Alistair. Didn't have Subjugate available anyway. I called it Contaminate, but Subjugate.
It's, you know, it does kind of contaminate your armor, I guess.
It does. It does feel like you're a bit rusty. But the Subjugate not available. But Alistair always was someone who largely didn't have to worry about the same threat coming through from the Trundle. Couple of team fights in a row where MVP have gotten too optimistic. They won some fights or went even in fights they shouldn't have. Now they're over-forcing when they don't need to. And this is all with Afreeca not playing the zero-sum playstyle they should be sticking to, which is very much sticking Marin in top lane and watching and the Maokai, honestly, watching on as Trundle takes down turrets.
Oh, double Infernal, triple on the way for Afreeca Freecs if they even need it. 30 minutes into this one, 16-10. It's been a very bloody game, which I will say I'm relieved to see after our first series. Game 1 turned a bit bloody by the end of it, but it was just silliness.
ADD, no point defending a very low health turret, so already has group with his team. No teleport available for the Maokai. You put down Vision, there's not going to be any of those nasty 3,000 range Nature's Grass to try and catch people unawares.
On to the final inner turret here for Afreeca Freecs, and it seems like MVP, yeah, they're just going to have to surrender this one. Marin is still trying to split push up in the top lane, but Ian is there to deal with him. Has quite a bit of damage on that Corki.
Kind of the issue, though, is we mentioned there's no Orianna, right? Orianna with this team comp, you have great initiators. The initiation power of MVP can't be denied, but it's such a low damage build from Justana that's only Ian is going to be ripping down the frontline target, likely to be Jarvan or Trundle. The damage is a big query here for MVP. Wave clear is decent, though.
That Corki Tristana, not too bad. Go ahead, get rid of those, but they have more waves on the way. It's going to be the big engage here from Max. Featherstorm coming down from Kramer to make sure he does not get pulverized. The Blade Caller just helps rip right through beyond his Squirrel. Comes up for the first kill, Cataclysm down onto ADD. Trying to soak up as much as he can in the front line, but he's already down below half HP. The Sap Magic bringing back a little bit, but it's not enough for him to posture forward to help save that turret. So that's going to be the first inhibitor of the game going down in favor of Afreeca Freecs, and they're not done yet. They're rotating straight down to that bottom lane to try to knock down another.
You don't think about grouped Trundle CC so much, but the Subjugate allows the Trundle to control so much space around a turret that he's able to just put down the Pillar of Ice, subjugate someone, and then the turret goes down. That's 2 inhibitor turrets down.
Second inhibitor getting ready to fall as well, because Marin can just sit up into the front line. Kramer just keeps poking away, get himself sustained back up, but we'll have to go ahead and recall. They got the Baron empowered, plus the Lover's recall, so it makes it extra fast here for the side of Afreeca Freecs. 2 inhibs now down, a 3rd Infernal Drake on the way. The game pretty much in their hands. This is one that if they were to lose it, would be rather embarrassing at this point.
And what a team fight looks like where they lose because of the low damage, kind of tricky to see. Sure, they could get picked a couple of times and some gold could be donated to Maha before the next fight, but Marin has the screw you build because he's finished the Thorn Mail and will literally just stand and laugh at the damage coming through from Maha. Meanwhile, Kramer has a similarly titled build, but it's massive damage, max damage build coming through from Kramer.
Yeah.
If Spirit and Marin hold true in the front line, and how could they not as Trundle and Jarvan? Kramer will do the rest. The Kuro Shockwave will be decent. Feels like Afreeca just one group fight away from winning game 1.
I mean, you can tell he's not even concerned about Maha's lifesteal, keeping him sustained in the fights, because he went for the Lord Dominic's Regards instead of the Mortal Reminder, so he's not even remotely worried about it. Marin, though, might be a little bit worried here as he goes down to half HP, but the answer right back in as Beyond goes low. Has to use the Void Rush to try to get himself out of the fight, but the Blade Caller coming through off the back of the Featherstorm from Kramer does find yet another kill. Now Max will go down. Kuro finding one for himself, and it's just going to be cleanup time here for the Afreeca Freecs as they try to get rid of the rest of these remaining members of MVP and end the game. Might not even have to kill them, honestly. Shockwave coming through, only going to connect in onto one, but it's weakened some Maokai, sets him up to go down. That might just be the ace, and will make it back, limping into the fountain as much as you can limp when you're riding on an airplane. But the turrets will go down. Nexus about to be exposed as Ian goes in for his last hurrah. but he is just going to get shot down out of the skies. Kramer with a final kill, 22-11, doubling it. Massive gold lead in the end, 34 minutes on the clock. Afreeca Freecs win game one.
Yeah, 34 minutes, 33 kills, super bloody game one, but it means that the side of Afreeca are one Nexus explosion away from guaranteeing themselves a top 5 spot, ruining the night of Jin Air fans and ensuring that they will be taking on SK Telecom T1 in the first round of the gauntlet next Saturday.
One more game, all that Afreeca need. Riding in off the 2-0 would be a nice way to get ready for that wildcard match. Do have to still close out their final game against Jin Air if they are to win here. But they want to go ahead. They want to be locked into the playoffs. So Jin Air, heart's probably pounding watching back home at the moment.
I mean, the thing about Trundle is one person dies in a fight, his King's Tribute passive comes up, and then he is full health. So I don't think there was any real concern for Marin. They controlled space smart, and if there is a team fight with a 4-item Xayah at 33 minutes free hitting, that is a team fight that will be won by the Afreeca Freecs. He's able to continue to re-engage. Marin gets the Trundle pillar. He can turret dive forever with the Thornmail. Shockwave not used in the first fight. And Afreeca, play it smart, playing around the power of the duo lane, nerfing the Tristana, not allowing her to be aggressive in lane, and Trundle does Trundle things when he's allowed to lane freely against a Maokai.
And, I think you have to be concerned with the draft here from the side of MVP, going for the Maokai first pick, allowing Kramer to have that Xayah, which he's so comfortable on because ADD wasn't able to deliver with this.
In hindsight, I think the game plan of actually not playing around Tristana was probably a bigger factor. Maokai is very powerful, and Xayah doesn't have a great time in Tristana, but it's also MVP who've been up and down on being able to